In this session, we will look at how to record a DSO review on the IRIS system and record any associated actions for this incident. Now, as a departmental safety officer, whenever an incident occurs in a department that you look after, you'll receive a notification similar to the one shown on the screen. In this notification is a link that will take you straight into the IRIS system and specifically to that incident. Alternatively, to navigate to the IRIS system, from the Safety Office webpage, we click on Incident Reporting, and then Information for Safety Officers. On the right-hand side of this page is the link to log into IRIS. You will need to have a VPN connection if you're working from home, and you'll need your single sign-on credentials to log into the system. Also on this page are links to support documentation to help you complete DSO review. Okay, this is the homepage of the IRIS system. Along the top, we have incidents. This is what we will jump into in a second. This is where all of the incidents are recorded onto the system and where you will access them to complete your DSO reviews. There's additionally document library, which will also host all of the guidance materials in addition to them being hosted on the Safety Office webpage. Lookups, structure, and administration are admin tools. And at the bottom of the pages, we have icons that reflect the options at the top. So you will see incidents and document library. We'll now move into the incident section. Okay. At the top here, we'll have two graphs. The graph on the left looks at the number of incidents for the previous 3 months. And obviously this is very early on in the life cycle of this system. So the numbers of incidents are fairly low. And on the right here will be the number of outstanding actions that need to be completed for the incidents that you have visibility of. And again, we don't have any at the moment. This is why this is blank. Working down the page, we then have a list of all incidents in the system, which you can then filter between open incidents and closed incidents. What you are able to see is determined by your permissions on the system. So for example, if you look after one department as their DSO or other specialist safety officer, you will only see incidents for that department in this view. Actually, area divisional safety officers will see all incidents for their division, and the safety office will be able to see all incidents that occur at the university. Moving down the page, any actions created associated to those incidents will be listed here. And again, you'd be able to filter between open actions and completed actions. We then have DSO reviews. So these are the reviews conducted by departmental safety officers into these incidents. And again, you'll only see the ones applicable to your incidents. And we can filter once more by the status here in these tabs. So we're able to see all of them, ones that are unreviewed, ones that require further information, ones that have been reviewed, or ones that have just got some open action. Then lastly, we have investigations of those incidents. Again, we would see all investigations, ones with open actions, ones where investigations are still required, and ones that have been closed. Let's navigate into the incident that we need to review. We can pick it from this incident list. And by default, it's sorted by the date of incident with the most recent listed at the top. I can see that this top one is the one that we want to look at. So I can click on it by clicking, I can open it, by clicking on the incident reference number here on the left. Now, if I'd followed the link in the notification, this is where I would have ended up on this summary screen for the incident. And we have some very high level information about the incident here. And if we scroll down, we have any supporting documents that were uploaded as part of the incident. So in this case, we have a photo here of the scene. And then lastly, at the bottom, we have the DSO review that will need to be completed. Now, to completely review an incident and complete the DSO review, there are 3 things that need to take place. Firstly, we need to verify that all of the details entered on the reporting form are correct. Secondly, we need to apply a reportable classification against any injured party or potentially exposed person involved in the incident. And then lastly, we need to complete the questions on the DSO review itself. So what we'll do first is verify that all the details entered on the incident form are correct. So to do this, we'll click Edit Incident here to open up the reporting form. From this screen, we're now able to edit any of the fields on here. Any changes that we do make will be tracked and are fully auditable. So having gone away and reviewed this incident with those involved in it, I have found out that the date of the incident entered here is incorrect. The stated date here is 2nd of June, should have been 1st of June. I can open up the calendar view and change this. Alternatively, I could have typed in 1st of June there as well to change that. All of the other details on this reporting form are correct, so I don't need to make any changes to them. So I've now completed that first step, verifying that all of the information entered on the reporting form is correct. Second step I needed to do was to ensure that a reportable classification is entered against any injured parties or potentially exposed people involved in the incident. And we have one of those for this incident here, Mr. Blobby. So to open up his details, I click again on the reference number here on the left. And if any of the information here needed to be updated, say I had found out any of his contact information or his date of birth, I could update those here as well in the same way. You'll notice that there is this new field here, reportable classification, that needs to be completed. If I open up the options, these are a list of riddle classifications. If you require assistance in determining which riddle classification should be selected for each incident, there is a guidance document that helps you through this process, which is again is available from the Safety Office website, and we would strongly recommend that you refer to that whenever you're unsure about which riddle classifications should be selected. Now for this example, I know that this was a dangerous occurrence, so that's the option that I'm going to pick. I'll click Save Changes. And then save changes for the entire reporting form. So it's the first two stages of the DSO review complete, ensuring that all the information is correct on the reporting form and applying a reportable classification for any injured parties or potentially exposed people involved in the incident. You'll notice that the field that we changed, the date of incident, is now highlighted in yellow. So we have a handy visual prompt of any fields that are updated on the system. As I mentioned before, those are all trackable and fully auditable. You can notice as well that it says that it's been updated, last modified by myself with a date and time. The last thing I need to complete are all of the questions related to the DSO review itself. So to open that up, again, just click on the reference number for the DSO review and click Edit to open it up. I can now work through these questions. Firstly, injury cause. Open up the options. This list is provided to the university by USHA, that's the University Safety and Health Association, who are a university sector body that look at health and safety. Every year, the university must submit data relating to all of our accidents and incidents that take place, and they like all of that data sorted into these categories. So again, we have a guidance document to help you through picking the correct option. Some of these aren't straightforward, so please refer to that guidance document if ever you're unsure. Now for this example though, explosion would be the correct option. Next question here is asking whether the employee was absent from work. And again, we have a hover hint directing us to the fact that if the person involved in the incident is not a member of the university, not an employee of the university, the answer to this question is always going to be not applicable. You cannot be absent from work at the university if you do not work for the university. So looking at those options, that not applicable one is there at the bottom. So that would be appropriate for any members of the public, contractors, or students. Everybody else, we have three options. So yes, they were absent from work, no, they weren't, or not known. This is the option I'm going to select for the time being. In a real world context, perhaps I haven't had a chance to get in touch with people involved in the incident, or nobody's been able to tell me whether any absence has taken place. So I will, for the time being, but not known. However, I will need to go and update this at a later date. Next question here asks whether somebody else needs to be informed about the incident. This is intended to be used to let people such as line managers or supervisors know that an incident has taken place. If that is the case, select yes. And then I'm asked to enter their email address. And again, there's a preference for Oxford email addresses. And if I need to send it to multiple people, I can separate those email addresses with a comma. I'm also asked whether a consent form is required to share this information. If the answer is yes, I'm then asked to upload that consent form. If you're unsure whether a consent form would be required to release that information to your named email contacts here, check with your local HR department who'd be able to clarify that for you. For the purposes of this example, I'm just going to say no. I then have a free text box here where I can record any findings from my DSO review. So in the course of me investigating what happened in this incident, I found out that the explosion was caused by an electrical spark. Electrical spark caused the explosion. Now on the reporting form, because it was indicated that this incident had an environmental impact and involved fire, I now have a couple of follow-up sections here to complete. So firstly, for environmental incidents, it asked me what the type of incident was. There are a number of options here, but the best one that suits our example is a spillage or spillage response. Other parties involved? No. They've been reported to agencies or regulators. Then I'm going to say no. What was the cause? So we know that the explosion was the cause. And that doesn't quite fit into any of these options. So I'm going to select other. I'm then asked to provide some more details. So I'll say explosion. Then asked to categorize it. I'll say that this is substantial because somebody was exposed to the chlorine gas and the unknown biological agent involved in the incident. To fire, ask for a fire category. This was a minor fire. The cause of the fire alarm activation. So again, this was the explosion. Doesn't quite fit into any of the options. So I'll select other. Again, I'm asked to provide some more details. The next section is looking at risk assessments. So the question asks us, was there an applicable risk assessment for the activity? I answer yes. I'm then asked to provide the date that the risk assessment was last reviewed prior to the incident, and then asked to upload the risk assessment itself. If I were to answer no, I'm asked, is a risk assessment required? And if I were to answer no again to that question, I'd be asked to justify why no risk assessment is required for the activity that was taking place. I would say that yes, there was a risk assessment for this activity. I'll enter the date it was last updated. And I will now upload it. Okay. Next section here is for unsafe acts and conditions. So this is starting to look at safety behaviours and environmental conditions or building conditions that contributed to the incident taking place. Again, for both of these questions, there is a guidance document that will help you through the options available on these menus. So please refer to those guidance documents for some guidance. Firstly, unsafe acts. So again, these are the behaviours, safety behaviours that potentially contributed to the incident happening. You notice that these are multiple select. So I could select all of the things that apply out of this list. However, in this particular example, none of the options on the screen are applicable. So I will select this none here and then done. And then for unsafe conditions, So again, this is looking at environmental conditions or conditions within a building that contributed to the incident taking place. Again, I can select multiple options from this list, all that apply, or as in this example, none. The next section, retention period. If I open that up, we can see that we have a standard 3-year retention period applied automatically to this incident. This is compliant with UK health and safety legislation, where we are required to retain all accident and incident information for 3 years. However, there are some additional retention periods that can be applied, again, defined by other pieces of health and safety legislation. There is a guidance document that will guide you when each of these could be applicable. If in doubt, check with your area divisional safety officers. Next section here is split into 3. We have further actions required, supporting documentation, and related incidents. Start at related incidents. This allows us to link incidents together on the system. So an example would be if there was a major fire in a building that resulted in an evacuation, we could feasibly have 3 or 4 people reporting the same incident on the system at the same time, which in turn would generate 3 or 4 notifications to a departmental safety officer to complete 3 or 4 DSO reviews of the same incident. And that's not a good use of their time. So what this section here allows us to do is to link all of those incidents of the same fire being reported together and then complete 1 DSO review for that incident. Next section, supporting documents. Again, functions exactly the same as it does on the incident form. Click the yellow button and then document upload and browse to the document that we want to upload. We then have further actions required. In the course of your review of an incident, you may identify some actions that need to take place to resolve the incident or to prevent it from reoccurring. And these need to be recorded on the system as part of our response to any incidents that take place. So to add an action on, we click this yellow button. We then have a couple of fields to complete. So the first one is the target completion date, so when you would like the action to be completed by. So if I select the end of the month, then the action required. So in this example, we had an explosion in the storeroom, which likely has caused damage. So I will want to get that repaired. So I can raise a ticket, plan on repair storeroom. Now need to assign this to somebody. So there are 2 methods of assigning actions to people on the system. So the first method is using this white workflow box here. Before we move on, we'll note that the icon here is currently orange and that it currently says not assigned. If I click on this box and then open up the users list, I have a short list of users that I can assign actions to. So this list, again, is determined by the permissions people have for this department on the system. So anybody who has permissions to view incidents on the system should appear in this list. So we'd expect to see departmental safety officer, biological safety officer, departmental fire officer, and radiation protection supervisor if a department has one on this list, as well as their area divisional safety officer and maybe a contact or 2 from the safety office itself. So I want to assign this action to myself as the departmental safety officer, so I can select my name by ticking the box. If I wanted to assign it to multiple people, I can also tick by them as well. Once I'm happy, click OK, and OK again. You'll notice that the icon is now turned blue and it now says assigned in this box. If I wanted to assign an action to somebody not on that list, say a lab manager or a line manager or somebody who looks after a particular risk assessment, if I want them to update that risk assessment, I can enter their email address in this box as well. Again, preference would be for Oxford email addresses, and if I wanted to send it to multiple email addresses, separate them with a comma. I want to use one of these methods for an action. I don't want to use both of these methods for the same action. Once I'm happy that I've created that action, assigned it to someone, and said when I want it done by, I can click Save Changes. Scroll down, you can see that that action's been added on. I can follow the same method for recording as many actions as required for the response to this incident. Once I'm happy that I've added all the actions on and completed all the questions on the DSO review, I can click Save Changes. You'll notice here that it says it's calculating. The way the system is set up, there are workflows that run in the background that generate statuses and notifications on the system. And they sometimes take a few seconds to go through. So if ever you see a screen like that, it's well worth just refreshing the page. We see that all of our statuses have updated. So we first look at this DSO review status. It says that it is open because there is further information required. Now, if you remember, I need to update the system about any absence that Mr. Blobby had in relation to this incident. I currently have set that as not known. Incident status mirrors this DSO review status. It says that the incident has been reviewed because we have completed this DSO review, but that further information is still required. If I scroll down the screen, you can see that action that's been assigned to me, currently set as open. You'll also see that an investigation here has been created automatically. So not every incident will generate an investigation automatically. This is defined by this RIDDOR status. So whatever the reportable classification entered on against any injured party or potentially exposed person on the incident, that will determine whether an investigation is required or not. And again, the guidance document that looks at reportable classifications, RIDDOR classifications, specifies which ones will trigger an investigation and who will own that investigation. And in this case, you can see here that the two owners have been assigned. Okay, so I need to now update this DSO review with that further information required. So again, to do that, just click on Edit DSO Review. I can now update this field here where I said that the absence information was not known. So I've now been able to get in touch with Mr. Blobby, who was potentially exposed on this incident, and he had told me that he did not take any absence related to this incident. He was back in work the next day. Now click No, and then click Save. Again, we can see that it is now calculating. It's updating those statuses and any workflows and notifications in the background. Now that's done, I'll refresh. We can see that all the statuses are now updated. So the DSO review status is now open with open actions. And that, of course, is referring to this action we created here. And the incident status reflects that as well, where it says it's reviewed because we've completed the DSO review, but we have that open action to complete. As I've mentioned, going through this demonstration, please refer to the guidance documents that can be found on the Safety Office website before accessing any support.